Welcome to Simple Sourdough. Today I'm going to show you how to make the classic Danish Ryebread, a very nice Scandinavian bread with 100% whole grain rye, a lot of seeds, and these guys. These are whole rye grains. And I know some of you got mug mills at home, so if you can't buy the pre-cracked or cut rye grains, you can just do it yourself. And it looks like this. Turn on the machine. The reason why we want to crack our grains is so they can absorb water for the next day, and so we don't destroy our teeth when we are biting into this type of bread. So for this recipe, we need 150 grams of cracked rye, or cut rye. We need 50 grams of sesame seeds, 50 grams of sunflower seeds, and 50 grams of flax seeds. You can mix this recipe as you like. You can just use 150 grams of any type of seed and it will work. Here we got our rye sourdough. This could also just be your wheat sourdough. The only thing that's very important is that it has to be very acidic and very sour. This prevents the dough later on from becoming very, very sticky, because it protects against too much sugar in the bread, and sugar becomes very sticky. So for this recipe we are adding our sourdough. The more sourdough you will add, the faster it will be. Then we are adding 200 grams of water. And this is lukewarm water. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to mix it by hand. I just want to make sure that all these, especially the rye, is soaking some of the water. And that's pretty much it. So this is the first part of the recipe, the soaking part. And you just want to leave this out in room temperature for at least 6 hours. That should make them soft enough for you to chew them. I'm going to cover this and I'm just going to leave it out. And then I will check back on this tomorrow and we continue with part number 2 of the Ryebread recipe. So now we are back at day number 2, and as you can see, all the stuff we did, our soaking part on day number 1, now looks completely different. This one is nice and juicy. It smells very good, it smells very sweet. So now we're going to continue with the recipe. I'm going to add 200 grams of lukewarm water. If I add very cold water, then this bread will just proof very, very slowly. So it's important that you add quite hot water. I'm going to add a bit of acidic sourdough again. It has to be mature. I'll write all the numbers on the screen as well. I'm going to add my salt, 15 grams. And this one here is optional. This is what we call malt sirup. I know it's hard to get some in some places. You can also use malt flour. You can use a dark beer instead of water on day number 2. So some people just prefer the real taste of the rye. You can also use honey, syrups, all kinds of stuff. So now I'm just going to mix this out. And you can see the syrup is giving a nice dark color to this. Now I'm going to add my whole grain rye flour. Here I got 200 grams. going to mix it in. Basically what I want to do here, I just want to make sure all the flour has been soaked, and after that I can feel the consistency. It has to feel like minced meat. We have to be able to pick it up in our hand, and it has to maintain its shape. We have some people that come down here to our bakery and they ask why has my rye bread turned so dry. And that's just because there's just not enough flour in it. So now you can see this one is a bit too runny. So now I want to add some extra rye flour. And this varies from brand to brand and from rye to rye. So you have to just understand that for this recipe you can always add more water and you can always add more flour if you need to. We are not working with the gluten the same way as when we are making our wheat bread. So this is the type of consistency that we are looking for. So I'm just going to wet my hand here. I can pick it up and it will feel like minced meat. Just going to wash my hands and then I will show you how we get it into our container here. Right, so now we are ready to get it into our form. I'm actually not sure what these are called, so our bread container. I'm just using my dough card here to scrape off the sides. And as always, when we are working with dough, it's very nice to just use a wet hand and then you can touch it without the dough being too sticky. We need to prepare this one, and for that we can use a fat spray. You can also just rub it with some oil. You can smear it with butter. That's up to you. We also tried to make a Christmas version with dog fat and cranberries and dried fruit. So now I just want to take my dough, get it into my container here. You can just use the card to get the last bit. The traditional way of making this in Denmark, we usually learn just to keep a small bit from time to time every time we bake. So this will be our starter next time we make rye bread. That's the traditional way to do it. So now it looks like this. I can just wet my hand and I can just make it nice and flat in our form. So when we have a nice smooth surface like this, I'm just going to, we can put all kinds of stuff on it. We can put seeds. I like the look when we just put some rye flour. It's pretty popular. I think most bakers call it cracked rye, like this. And now we're just leaving it to proof at room temperature. And for this recipe, usually it's between 1 to 2 hours, and then it should be ready. If you want to proof this very fast, you can put it at a warmer place, and then it just should go very fast. So let's check back on this in 1 hour, and then we will start baking it. So our rye bread has finished proofing, and now we are ready to bake it. I'm going to bake it in a regular oven here on 170 degrees, just on a regular setting with a hot fan. It's very, very simple, putting in the rye bread. Then I'm just going to add a small bit of steam. And the steam in the oven just prevents the bread from cracking up or drying out too much on the surface. And it also gives a better caramel on top. So now we're going to bake this for 1 hour. If you want to be very precise about this and want to make sure that the bread has finished baking, you want to measure the core temperature of the bread, and it should be around 97 degrees Celsius. Yeah. If you are not sure if your bread has finished baking, you can always bake it for another 15 minutes just to be sure. So I'm going to return after 1 hour and then we will check it out. we are back now after 1 hour, checking in on the Ryebread. And it looks very, very nice. Such a nice color on this bread. And nice rivers at the top. This bread, just like all other sourdough bread, you should make it rest to, well, stay moist and also to keep the taste. It's very hard to taste the actual flavor when it's this hot. Just going to show you how it looks like inside. And in Denmark, we love to eat the end piece here with a ton of butter. So this is how it looks. Very nice crumb structure, and you can see all the whole grains and all the seeds. We love this bread. You have to try to make this. It's very easy to make once you have all the ingredients. That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and you can check out our Instagram right below, and please like and subscribe to the video. Thank you for watching.